my dear friends, Lori here, back in the kitchen, but I'm not cooking today. I'm actually doing a task that I should have done weeks ago. Imagine you all know how that is, where you have something that you need to get done and it doesn't get done. And for me, it was making soap. Now, I've been making our own soap since 2015, so that's like 7 years since we've bought soap. And I have been sitting here with my soap making supplies on my kitchen table ready to go for about 2 months now. And I've been putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. And so today, that is what I am doing. And so my question for you is, have you ever made your own soap? And if so, what is your favorite recipe for soap? Today I am using what I called my good old soap recipe. And it has the following ingredients, including lard. There's also a couple of things on my recipe list that I don't have. You might be thinking that, oh my gosh, all of the videos say you have to have exact measurements of everything. That's not really true. You want to come close, but I mean, okay, if you're selling it commercially, then yes, you probably want to stick to the formula that you've created for your bars and stick with that so that you have the same consistent quality every single time you make a bar of soap. But when you're making them at home for yourself, the difference of 1/8 of an ounce of water in the big scheme of things is not going to be huge. Now, oils do have different flash points, and I recommend that you make your own recipes. I think it's berrybramble.com. It's been years since I've had to make a recipe because I made all mine years ago and I just follow them now. But I believe it's brambleberry.com that has a soap making calculator where you can put in the oils that you have and it will tell you how much sodium hydroxide and how much water to use to get the consistency of soap that you want. So I am using my recipe that I made on Brambleberry many years ago, and yeah, I just showed it to you if you wanted to follow my recipe. Now I am going to modify it a little bit, and I'm not going to recalculate my recipe. Because I'm a rebel, you know. Anyway, so let me show you what I've got going on, and then I'll talk to you a little bit about the process of making soap. So for me, the first step is to get my sodium hydroxide and my liquid measured. Now I generally just use a filtered water from my refrigerator, and I have my lye measured out. And one thing about lye is you can see here, I'm assuming you can read that. I can maybe bring it a little closer. It is caustic soda. Now this is food grade, so it's supposed to be high quality. Working with lye or anything else that is caustic, it is recommended that you use rubber gloves. And I'm quite careful with mine, but I am still going to throw on some rubber gloves just in case I get a splash or something. Now, it's not going to eat away your skin unless you pour a whole bunch of it on you, but it will burn, and it hurts. So, that I do know because I have splashed it on myself before. So, I recommend also that you put on some kind of a rubber glove. So, my when I first started making my own soap, I was so scared of what might happen if the lye touched me. I used to wear like a long sleeve sweatshirt and something around my neck and goggles and all this stuff. Now you don't want to stand over your water while you're pouring the lye in it, but I even do it inside now. I'm going to turn my fan on when I go to do it. But yeah, just, you know, be a little bit careful. But don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid to get out there and make your own soap, because I tell you what, it is so much better for your skin than any of the store-bought soaps that you can find. So, and even those melt and pour soaps, if you've been using those melt and pour soaps thinking that you're making your own soap, you are not. You are still putting in there a whole bunch of chemicals and a variety of different things that you are then turning around and putting onto your skin. So, the best soap, the best way to go is to make it at home. So I've measured out my water and I've measured out my lye, and always put your lye into your liquid. Never put your liquid into your lye. And you want to pour it relatively slowly. And it's best to start with a cool liquid. Now, if you're using something like milk, I know people use goat's milk in their soap. I know people who have also used coffee and tea. If you are using one of those things, make sure that you let it cool down first. Because otherwise, when you throw your lye into it, your lye is going to heat it up a lot. It actually heats it up a lot. So you want to make sure that you have something underneath it, or I'm doing it on top of my stove. And I'm just pouring a little bit in at a time and stirring it to dissolve it. Something else that you can do and keep on hand while you're doing this is vinegar will stop the burn. So I actually didn't even put one out today, but I used to always have a little jug of vinegar right here. I mean, I have it. It's right about the stove here if I should need it. But yeah, and you just keep doing that until all of your lye is added and it kind of clears a little bit. You can see how cloudy that is, right? Now, I didn't really understand the point of the fact that lye gets stuff super, super hot and can be dangerous if you play with it too much, until I tried making soap with a coffee base. And my coffee was hot, and I threw my lye into it, and it basically exploded all over. And I did it on my stove. You can actually still see the marks of it underneath the stove. It's still the same stove, but yeah, it was pretty scary. So if you're doing it with coffee, one good recommendation is to take the coffee and freeze it, and then pour the lye onto the frozen coffee or frozen tea, and that way it just melts it away without actually like bubbling over and doing a reaction like that. I wish I had been making videos at that time because that was something, but I will never forget it, and it does remind me that there are things to be careful of when you're making soap. Another thing to be careful of when you're making soap is your fragrance. Now, I use essential oils for fragrance, and I find them to be the best. It's the most pure that you can get on your skin. You don't want to be putting a bunch of perfume and stuff on yourself. Well, unless you do, of course, which most soaps use is perfumes and dyes and stuff. I've made soap with pigments, natural pigments and stuff. I used to color all my soap and make super fancy stuff to sell at the market. But now I just make it for home. I just make it for us. So I don't add any kind of color to it anymore, and I just let it become the natural color that it's going to become. So now I suppose if I use just strictly lard and coconut oil, I could probably get a fairly white soap. But I always throw in some olive oil and stuff like that. Anyway, you can see that this is relatively clear now. And I'm going to move it over here to this burner. Most of my lye has dissolved, and I can feel that this is warm. So I need to let it sit and cool there for a while, and while it cools, I'm going to start melting my oils. So now you can see that that did get quite hot. It's been sitting there for about 10 minutes, and it's still at 140, 145, 146 degrees. So yeah, a little too hot to be mixing with my oil yet. I want to get it to drop down to about 100, between 100 and 110, and then I'll want to bring my oil up to the same temperature. Because you want your lye mixture, your lye and whatever liquid mixture that you're using, you want that and your oils to be at approximately the same temperature when you go to mix them. It makes the saponification process easier. Makes the whole process of getting to trace much easier, and yeah, all that fun stuff. So now you know.
It about 3 months for her to make more soap. You know, when she started this process, she wouldn't let us use that awful stuff for our face. My flawless complexion and my unwrinkled hands. And look what happened in just the 2 months since we haven't had soap to use. Look what's happened to my hands.
Oh no, that's awful, Mima.
And my face.
Oh no, look at, you're all wrinkled now. Oh, well, I'm on it. I'm making more soap, Mom.
She made us throw away perfectly good soap. We had to give it away. We gave away bars and bars and bars and bars and bars and bars of soap.
Store-bought soap.
Store-bought soap. I knew we should have kept them. We could have used them.
For just such a day as today.
Just for the 3 months we've been waiting for her.
Yeah.
And she's promised she's going to make more soap.
I'm going to make soap. I'm going to make soap. I'm going to make soap.
And
well,
she
it's
didn't.
Finally happening.
I don't put that in my coffee.
Don't put that in your coffee. No, that's toxic. I've got my coconut oil melting here, just in a water bath, kind of, and I've just got it. I keep it on fairly low. I usually put it, I've got it at about a 3, between a 3 and a 4 on my stove, because you don't want to melt it too quickly.
Show them my cup. See the cup my daughter got for me?
It's her favorite. Feel the love.
Yeah.
Do you want me to move that to your...
No, I can.
You can do it?
Oh, these knees.
Yeah. Poor Mom's got bone on bone in her knees. No more cartilage.
Trying to get in to see an orthopedic surgeon, but
To get something done,
not
but
getting in there very fast.
nope. They take their sweet time.
I told my doctor, I says, maybe it's because I called them out the last time I was supposed to go in there. I went for knee surgery and they had me booked for hip surgery. And I said, no, not doing that. So I canceled them. Then I had a stroke. So
So now we're back to square one with the knee.
and soap.
And soap.
Bye.
Bye, Mom. So I have my lye over there cooling off, and I have my hard oils here melting, and now it's just a waiting game. I find it takes, I don't know, 30 to 40 minutes for my lye to come down to the temperature that I like it to be at, which is about 100 degrees. Now there are ways you can speed that up. You can put it outside if it's cold. I don't really recommend putting it in the fridge unless you have a fridge specifically for this, because you don't know what the fumes will do in there, so that's maybe not such a good idea. But I suppose you could put it into a cool water bath. You know, set it into a tub of cool water. Make sure you don't get any on the inside, but that would also cool it down faster. I just go and find something else to do while it's doing it. Now, I know that can be tough if you've got kids or crazy animals, but I know my animals can't jump up on the counter anymore, so I don't worry about them doing that, and I don't have kids around to worry about getting into stuff. So I can wander off and go do other things while this is all taking care of itself. And then I'll come back and show you how we put it together. So my lye mixture, can we see that? It's about 103. And my oil mixture is 108. So that's close enough. 107. So it's a few degrees off, but it's close enough. And I'm going to go ahead and start mixing them together. Always pour your lye mixture into your oil, not the other way around. And I like to strain it through this, just in case I have any chunks of lye that didn't quite dissolve. I like to pour it through a strainer. Now remember, You want your tools that you're using to make your soap to be separate tools from what you use to cook with. Do not use your cooking utensils or tools or anything with your soap making. So to start off, I'm going to stir it just a little bit with the spatula just to get it mixed. And you can see that the color of my oils is kind of a golden, a nice golden color. And that's the natural color of the oils. So I did use canola oil and I used olive oil, both of which are yellow oils. So that's why you see that color. Remember, and I'm going to go in here with my stick blender. Again, the stick blender is used for nothing but making soaps and lotions. It's never used in the kitchen. And yeah, that's what I'm going to do. And I feel so bad for anybody who did not have a stick blender back in the day making soap, because you would have to stir this for hours, not having something that goes fast. So anyway, I'm going to put that down in there and we'll go ahead. So you run your blender for a few minutes and then you stop your blender and you give it a stir and you check the consistency. And once we get to there, I'll show you what kind of consistency we're looking for. Okay, we're getting close now. Getting really close to having a light trace. There you go. Okay, you see how that is no longer just dripping off? Well, let's give it a stir. It's maybe not quite there yet. Okay, so you can see how now I'm getting an indentation. Still not quite there yet, but this would be pretty close to a soft trace. So this is where you want to stop, and if you wanted to add coloring or you want to add a fragrance, this is where you will do it, is where when you hit that light trace step. Now we're not ready to put it into a mold yet. We want to bring it up to a thicker trace than that. And it's called trace. It's the thickness of the soap. And pour my fragrance in. Now I am using a fragrance this time, even though it is for ourselves, and that's because I have this fragrance and I figure I might as well use it. Now here also is where you would add your color. When I was doing color, I would mix my color with some of my liquid oil, my pigments. I used pigments. You can also see me mixing pigments in one of my painting videos. That talks about the pigments, but that's what I originally had them for, was for making soap and making colors. Now you have to remember that whatever color you use is going to mix with the color of your oil. So you can see that my soap here is a very creamy golden color, and that's the natural color of soap. Now I could add, oh gosh, I still don't remember what it's called. I'm gonna have to go look. But anyway, I could add stuff to it to make it white, and then I could add stuff to it to make it different colors. If I add blue, of course, it's going to turn green. Anyway, let's keep going here. See, we're getting really close now. Oh yes, look at how nice and thick that is now. I'm going to just do another couple of minutes, but that's just about perfect. So now that our soap has this lovely thick trace, and you can see it looks like a bowl of pudding. It's about that consistency. And now it's time to get it into our molds. Our beautiful soap is in our mold, and I like these silicone molds, But I recommend you get some kind of a frame for it. Otherwise, it'll just bulge out and your soap will have a pretty funky shape. I learned that the hard way, and then Dave made this frame for me for this here, and so I'm able to use that. And now I'm going to put, this is just a piece of laminated paper or plastic, and I'm just going to set that down on top of there, and I'm going to wrap it up in this towel, and I'm going to tuck it away until tomorrow, and then we'll pull it out and slice it. Another thing that I'm going to set aside until tomorrow is this dirty bowl, because if I let it sit overnight, this is all going to turn into soap, and it's going to be super easy to wash out of this bowl. So that's what I'm doing. Okay, well that's that until tomorrow. That's how easy that was until tomorrow. So for you it'll be a blink of an eye. For me it'll be another day or so, but I'll be back. So I hope that I remembered to tell you that to clean this, the easiest way to clean it, everything's a mess over here, where can I set this, is to let the soap harden a little bit. So I came and I checked it, and it's still pretty soft. And I realized that this is also a good way to check to see if your soap is ready for cutting. And I don't think it is yet, so I'm going to give it another day wrapped in a towel, and then we'll come back and cut it tomorrow. So this has been wrapped now for 3 days, and it's coming out. Oh, that just popped right off. And we're gonna cut it. You can... So this is another apparatus that Dave built for me, and you can see it's just sides and a bottom, and then it's got this little lift here for a stopper, and then it's got holes here, and this is 1 inch from the stopper to the hole, so that's where I cut it. And my cutter is just a cake slicer, so it just goes down straight in there, and there is my bar of soap. It's still sticky and a bit soft, so we know it's not ready to use yet. I'll explain more about the cold process in my close on this video. Yeah, we're gonna cut it up, set it up to cure. So I'm going to warn you before I get started here that there have been helicopters flying around all afternoon, and the rain has been coming in spurts, from pouring down to little splatters like it is today. So I'm going to go with my plan of not editing this before I before I attach it to the video and put the whole thing up. So yeah, I apologize in advance if those helicopters come back or if the rain starts pouring down again. But I just wanted to talk to you about a few things. So first, here's one of my bars of soap. I believe that gives me about 11. Smells super fresh, super clean, super good for you, super good for your skin. And yeah, super easy to make at home. So don't be afraid to make your own soap. It really is much easier than some people would lead you to believe. And with some basic precautions, you can do it yourself. So a couple of things I wanted to talk about. Now, I did tell you that I'd explain the cold process and why I wrapped it in a towel to let it sit for a few days. And so there are 2 ways of making soap. There's a cold process and there's a hot process. And so the hot process basically cooks your soap through the saponification process and creates a finished, ready-to-use bar, hardened, um, much faster than doing the cold process. However, the cold process allows for the soap to cool naturally and go through the saponification process at a much slower rate, which I guess is less harsh for the soap in the end. And for me, it's a much easier process. I've not actually, I think I tried one time to cook my soap, and I mean, it worked, and I got nice hard soap very quickly, but I really didn't care for the end result. So I've just never done it again. Besides, this is easier. I can do it and set it aside for 2 or 3 days, pop it out, cut it up, and then set it back away again for about 6 weeks before you can use it. You can use it earlier. It just until it hardens, you go through it super super fast. Come on. Sorry. You know how this is. She does not like me talking. She gets like this if I sing too. I know. Anyway, I was going to talk to you a little bit about color, and now when you're making your own soap, the whole reason for making your own soap is because you want it to be as natural as possible, right? So I don't ever recommend using dyes or things in your soap. However, there are natural pigments and oxides and things like that that you can use. Alkanet powder will turn things purple. Um, anyway, there's a variety of them, and I was going to show you some, but somebody is complaining, so apparently I have to go cater to her and sign off from my soap making adventure. If you have any questions about making soap, let me know. If you have any comments, do you make your own soap at home? Now, I don't make soap professionally anymore, so I'm much more lax in my recipes. And I will play with them a little bit more than maybe I used to, but I think that homemade soap is the best for your skin because it avoids all of the chemicals. If you take a look at what's in your bar of soap that you bought from the store, go ahead and take a look at the ingredients and then compare that to the list of ingredients you saw me put into this soap and tell me which one you think is better for your skin. And your skin is a really big organ, right? So take care of it. Anyway, that's my soapbox, my lecture on the soapbox for today. Thanks so much for coming and hanging out with me while I make some soap in the kitchen. Thanks for coming and saying hi to Tabby. She appreciates you too, even if she doesn't always show it. But I appreciate you coming in, and I hope that you have a good day. Take good care of yourself. I will see you soon. Bye now.